Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Richard Stockton, and this is the Cruz News, and that is the newly improved Cruz News Posseettes. The Posseettisness. They are the feminist Posseettists. Wow. How's the hair look, everybody?
Great.
Really good? Yeah.
Good today.
You know, just because a man has snow in the basement doesn't mean he can't have a fire on the roof. That's what I'm saying. Anyway. All right. Tonight, we look at abuse by corporate lawyers of mom and pop entrepreneurs.
What the hell was that
I must
supposed to mean?
silence.
Seriously. Snow on the roof?
They got it. You know, Brian Williams, our executive producer, ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing the difference you get with one chromosome. It's just phenomenal.
It's amazing the difference if you tell the joke right.
Okay. Tonight, we look at abuse. That's our story. Thank you. By corporate lawyers of mom and pop entrepreneurs. I must qualify our story tonight by saying that not all corporate lawyers are annoying. Some are dead. But the lively bank of attorneys for General Mills, the conglomerate that owns the Pillsbury Doughboy, has served a cease and desist notice to Tammy Cromar, who owns one store, My Dough Girl, in Salt Lake City. Reportedly, a General Mills lawyer told her not to talk to the press. Tammy did not return my calls. But what woman has, really? The conglomerate threatens to sue the small baker unless she removes the word dough from her store name. Now, Cromar says she does not have the resources to fight General Mills and will change the name of her My Dough Girl store. You know, there are two similarities here. Okay, one, there is the word dough. The second, My Dough Girl owner, Tammy Cromar, does not have a penis. The Pillsbury Doughboy does not have a penis, and the Pillsbury Doughboy seems way too happy about it. This woman cannot use dough. The General Mills Corporation owns the word dough. Pepsi-Cola once claims it owned the color blue. Well, we use the color blue in our logo here at Cruz News, and so why don't you sue us, huh? Well, don't hold your breath on this one. That's how Krishna turned blue, and then you'd have to sue God, for God's sake. What's Pepsi-Cola gonna do? File a lawsuit against every aging entertainer who calls his penis old blue?
We've got rare footage of the Plato blue penis entering the cavernous nostril of the beast.
All right, that's just me. All right. So this show is called Cruz News. Is the Santa Cruz City Attorney going to have the Santa Cruz Police kick down the door and take away the letters C-R-U-Z? Huh? Take the name of the upcoming comedy variety show, The Planet Cruz Comedy Hour with Richard Stockton. Now, every name is like something else. My name's Richard Stockton. That's Stockton like the town, Richard like the king. Right. This is King Richard II, and my brand is Richard, and the King of England, I order you to cease and desist, and you will not talk to the press. Will the city attorney of Stockton hand me a cease and desist letter? On every list of worst American cities to live in, Stockton is number one. You can't call yourself Stockton? Our lawyers will protect our city image of murder, car theft, gang violence, unemployment, and pollution. Actually, you know, I got to tell you, this town of Stockton is turning the economic collapse into ecological activism. Yes, money is so tight in Stockton and gas is so high that unless someone absolutely has to, they don't even get in their car for a drive-by shooting. It doesn't happen. The name of Cruz could receive a cease and desist order from Penelope Cruz because obviously people are confused. Penelope Cruz, Richard Stockton, well, you can see the problem there. All right. Maybe the planet Pluto was sued by the Disney Corporation for using Pluto's name. The little celestial body Pluto, not affording a big bank of attorneys, just disappeared. Ceased being a planet. So Tammy Cromar has deleted the word dough from her store name, My Dough Girl, and is now risks being sued by Motown Records for calling her store My Girl. Pillsbury's next move may be to sue non-existent people for using the name. John Doe, for example. The John Does of the world will pass into complete obscurity. For other meanings of the word dough, we go to our street language expert, Dickie Babalama. For in-depth analysis, almost impossible to discern Dickie Babalama.
Roll to Dickie.
The healing of the nation now. So, the name of the Pillsbury Doughboy is the Poppin' Fresh. The Poppin' Fresh means the interlacing rhythm with the pure percussive movements of the body, man. Look at the Poppin' Fresh, man. Now, the word dough means many things. It can mean a hot, underage female whose older sister is a biscuit and whose mother is a scone. So you corporate lawyer, you leave the Tammy Cromar alone. She be my dough girl, yeah. Some say that dough will make a fine biscuit one day, oh yeah. Dough can also mean money, the cash, the green, the moolah, the cheddar, the cake, the dinero. Also called Benjamin's dead presidents, the lifeless Lincoln. Okay, the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, not so funny. What, too soon? No, okay. The money also be called the Skrilla stacks, the Pillsbury dough. See, the doughboy is none of these things, man. It's just about the money. You corporate people care nothing about but the money, man. So your doughboy is about the cash. What if we call this man the father of our country? What if we call him Doughboy? Are you going to sue the father of the country, man? You know, man, Dairy Queen, which is owned by the Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, last month, they asked a court to stop Yogo Bliss, a Downey, California yogurt shop, from selling a product called Blizzberry. The Dairy Queen felt it was too similar in name to its popular Blizzard menu item. You know, the Dairy Queen think they own the word bliss. Bliss.com is the World of Warcraft website, man. The Dairy Queen cannot sue the World of Warcraft because they have too much of the dough. See, man, the Dairy Queen only sues the people who have the nothing. For a roster like me, bliss, it's a healthy amount of the reefer, man, the healing of the nation, rolled up in a cigar leaf, preferably a Dutch master or backward. Also, the name of my math teacher, Mr. Blitz. We used to say, let's go smoke a Blitz. Hey, Mr. Blitz, how do I take the integral of this differential equation? Spark something up, blaze that Blitz up. For Cruz News, I'm Dickie Babalama, and I'm going to sue all the man for calling their body part my first name. I come knocking on your door, man, and it will be a loud knock.
Wow, that was Dickie Babalama. We'll be right back after this. calm down a little bit.
You're really pushing it this episode, Stockton.
Welcome back to Cruz News. I'm Richard Stockton. We're so excited. We have a new segment featuring none other than Wallace Baine. Wallace Baine, Santa Cruz Sentinel Arts and Entertainment editor, is going to join us every week for one of his stories. Amazing. I'm so glad to have him on, and we can't quite figure out what the segment should be called, so email us at cruznews@cruzguru.com. Tell me what you think this segment should be called. Now here he is, Wallace Baine.
I'm on Pacific Avenue near the corner of Walnut, and I'm listening to my friend complain. He levels his gaze at a young woman walking past. "I can't stand that," he says, gesturing toward her. I smile like a dolt, but all I'm thinking is, what? It's a perfectly normal person in perfectly normal clothes behaving perfectly normally. Turns out he's referring to the thin white strands snaking up each side of her neck into her ears, her earbuds. She's listening to an iPod. So what? My friend is a gentleman of, how should I put this, considerable vintage. And apparently he's not down with the near universal habit of enjoying music privately in public. I suss him out a bit on the subject, and he says that it's fine to do iPodding while, say, jogging on Westcliff Drive or pruning the roses in your own yard, but walking down Pac Ave is essentially a social act, and that it's rude not to be approachable by friends, acquaintances, or even strangers you might encounter there. Wearing earbuds is, in my friend's judgment, basically the same thing as wearing a black t-shirt that says, in big hostile letters, "Leave me the blank alone." I decide not to argue the case, mainly because I've walked down the same street listening to an iPod roughly 5,000 times. But now I'm preoccupied with the topic. Is this just a case of someone bellyaching that things aren't what they used to be? And another thing, the way those boys wear their pants? Or is there a legitimate issue of etiquette involved here? And can someone please write down all these rules so we'll know what they are? In the parlance of that obscure company that manufactures the iPod, is there an app for that? We all know the problem, the toys of technology, in this case the iPod, the BlackBerry, cell phones, texting, and Bluetooth, always gallop way ahead of our ability to fold them elegantly into our lives. We now get that cell phones are a major annoyance in restaurants and a danger to drivers, but we've only recently come to a consensus on that subject. When cell phones first became common, the blinding coolness of them, "Dude, you won't believe where I'm calling from, the beach!" completely overruled notions of courtesy about their use. Those who whined about cell phones in the early days were thought of as cranks. But maybe they were, in fact, anticipating a coming trend. What Gramps was saying back in '97 is what most of us believe now. Maybe my iPod-loathing friend is what the hipsters call bleeding edge. But iPods, come on, isn't private enjoyment of tunage in the Constitution somewhere? First, some personal history. 30 years ago, when I was a teenager, I had those infamous AM/FM headphones that ran on AA batteries that were, at the time, breathtakingly awesome. Each side was about the size of a jar of mayonnaise, and if you were to wear those headphones now, people would fall over in laughter. No one this side of Napoleon Dynamite would try such a thing. But I love them, just as I love their later iterations, the Sony Walkman, the portable CD player, the iPod Shuffle, and my beautiful iPod Touch. I don't love my iPod more than I love my wife and children, but sometimes it's close. I use it for music, yes, but also for radio podcasts and audiobooks. My brain has become like a coal-powered locomotive, and my iPod is its shovel. My mind is in more or less constant need of input. Walk down the street alone with my thoughts? But I haven't done that since the Clinton administration. I think I might go insane. Yet even a pathetic earbud junkie like myself knows enough to recognize limits. I instinctively disengage from the buds when I walk into a store, for instance, and to go to checkout plugged in, tacky, really tacky. I asked a clerk at Nob Hill recently, do some people pay for their groceries while listening to their iPod? He said yes, but he shook his head slowly with a grim turn of mouth in blatant disapproval. If I didn't idiotically have my own earbuds draped across my shoulders like a prayer shawl, I may have heard the full measure of his wrath, like I imagine he and his colleagues share with each other in the employee lounge. If I have to say debit or credit one more time to some dirtbag lip-syncing to Bon Jovi. So where do we go from here? Do I have any ground to stand on resenting the guy behind me in line at the ATM blathering into thin air with his Bluetooth in his ear? I've run into friends while otherwise engaged in my iPod, and the resulting moment while I pull out my earbuds, take out my unit, and pause it, well, it's not always comfortable. But I've seen people in similar moments pull out just one earbud while leaving the other in place. At least I don't do that. I mean, how gauche. I also have teenage daughters who spend much of their time in my presence, hunkered down over their own tiny keyboards, texting to God knows who. Sometimes I'll say, I'm leaving your mother to move to Argentina with a 22-year-old samba dancer just to see if they're paying attention. I'd fall over if I got so much as a grunt of acknowledgement. Yet things are only going to get weirder from here. In the near future, all the gizmos will merge into one, if the iPhone hasn't done such already. And it will be so small as to be invisible. Soon we won't even know if someone is listening to Bon Jovi or talking to their broker or zoned out on Rumi poetry. Soon we won't bother to talk or nod to anyone, just assuming everyone is in their own portable private world. Then who's going to be the belly-aching old coot? You and I, friends. That's who. That's all.
There's no money left? There's nothing? You mean I have to keep this job? You know what I do for... Oh. That was Wallace Baine for Cruz News. Goodbye. With the California Senate preparing to vote on Assembly Bill 1998, that's a bill that would ban plastic bags statewide, Heal the Bay has released a humorous film to bring awareness to plastic pollution and help raise support for the bill.
The open plains of the asphalt jungle, home to many creatures great and small, and the popping ground for one of the most clever and illustrious creatures, the plastic bag. Today we explore the cycle of life for this curious creature, the plastic bag, on its migration to its home, Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The garbage patch is a veritable plastic oasis where millions of tons of plastic garbage remain trapped by the currents. It is said to be twice the size of Texas. Never actually biodegrading, here the plastic bag can live indefinitely, peacefully coexisting with billions of other petroleum species before breaking into ever tinier plastic pieces, thus completing the plastic cycle of life.
California would be the first state to ban plastic bags. 19 billion bags are used across California every year, leading to 123,000 tons of waste, costing California taxpayers $25 million a year in cleanup efforts. Turns out neither plastic or paper bags are earth-friendly. I mean, either plastic or paper. I'm bisexual. Any bag I reach my hand down in, I'm satisfied with whatever I find. I'm determined to make that joke mine. But here's Cruz News executive producer Brian Williams with his perspective on AB 1998.
Good evening. I'm Brian Williams, General Manager of Cruz News and Cruz Guru. At this time in California, when unemployment is approaching 12% and we face a $20 billion budget shortfall, it's unwise for our lawmakers to pursue a bill that will cost taxpayers an additional $1.5 million, throw up to 1,000 Californians out of work, and create an additional tax on the food that we buy.
Brian, there are 1,000 Californians who make plastic bags. Currently, 70,115 Californians are employed by Walmart, and they don't have to worry about how to get their groceries home because they can't afford food. 1,000 Californians do make plastic bags. The DEA reports that over 5,000 Californians deliver heroin. Listening to you makes me want some right now.
It wasn't long ago that plastic bags did not exist. At that time, we were consuming more paper bags and creating more waste and pollution. Plastic was the environmental choice back then and a way to save trees and the environment. How times have changed. The reality is that there is only about 15% that really want this legislation. The rest of us will be paying an extra 5 cents per bag.
My bags, my bags. How will I feed myself without my bags? I need to get a disclaimer in here. Any connection between Brian's brain and reality is completely accidental, okay? Actually, I appreciate Brian's fear about not being able to transport food home. According to plasticnews.com, plastic bags for consumers were introduced into the United States in 1977. How the human race survived for the preceding million years without plastic bags is a complete mystery. The extreme hardship and danger of transporting food without a plastic bag has not gone unnoticed by the Olympic Games Executive Committee, who is looking into adding the paper sack carry as an Olympic event. Sports Illustrated has announced that instead of its swimsuit edition, it will present babes with brown bags.
For those of you who wish to point out that reusable bags are the solution, well, let me point out that those bags are not made here and they're imported from China. Any rhetoric about American companies retooling to compete, well, unless Assemblywoman Julia is going to raise a tariff on those imports, there's no economic way for California companies to compete with China.
Brian, it's time to up the medication, boy. Really, there is a company in the heart of the Rocky Mountains called the American-Made Bag. It's made out of recycled post-consumer plastic bottles, sells for $5.08. How do I set this microphone to stun? What kind of neocon crap are you spewing now? This guy drives an SUV across a time zone and thinks he is time traveling. Yeah, Brian, maybe the trails out at Wilder Ranch need to be wider so you and your wife can walk holding hands. Please, Wilder Ranch, rebuild the trails so they don't go uphill. How about building a chairlift so I can get my Republican ass to a view without actually walking? No, you don't want any government intervention until you start whining. A small deer came into my camp and stole my jar of pickles. How do I get reimbursed? Please, make these trails fit my golf cart. I'm not going to walk that far. What about my needs to enjoy nature, huh? Please build a McDonald's at the trailhead. There are too many rocks in the mountains. We've got the largest prison system in the world. These people could be gainfully employed, pounding the rocks into smaller ones so I don't hurt myself.
There have been bans like this in LA, San Francisco, and they've resulted in data that suggests that only 15% of the people use recyclable bags. Perhaps $1.5 million should be spent re-educating kids to use reusable bags instead of a plastic bag ban enforcement.
Thank you, Brian Williams, for setting aside this time in our broadcast to humiliate yourself. We're all refreshed and challenged by your unique point of view. Yes, it would cost $1.5 million to enforce the plastic bag ban. Meanwhile, the city of San Francisco spends $8.5 million a year picking up plastic bags. They are everywhere. Jesus, plastic... Oh my God! What the... There... Brian, you're worried that our society is going to take away your plastic bag. You know, some people point at their wrist when they ask you what time it is. Yeah. When Brian asks someone where the restroom is, he points at his crotch. But this is the kind of guy who thinks he'll live longer if he eats preservatives. okay? My God, how is he going to pick up your dog poop now? Well, Technoman, maybe you can use your high-tech skills to put duct tape and aluminum can to a stick, huh? Maybe you need to point this camera at the fecal matter. Everything else you videotape seems to pass into immediate obscurity, you know what I mean? Maybe your virtual bag problem can go away with your virtual video machine there, camera boy. Just point your camera at it and using your computers, make the bad stuff go away. Hey, what happened there?
It's not funny, man. What'd you do with my body? Hey, what's going on? You're messing with my cough, man. I got a big head and it works for TV, man. What are you doing with my head? What are you doing with my career, man? Oh, wait a minute, I don't know. Could be a new look for me. Could be a new look. Yeah, could be diminutive dick. It's working for me, huh?